What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NerdGen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. The Void. Got a lot to talk about. Brian was excited to talk about this episode of The Void. Mortal Kombat 2. I haven't seen it yet. So we'll hear Brian's review, the famous Brian spoiler-free review.
Because remember, this was a project that was delayed, and I had a specific concern about that when it got delayed, and I would say my concerns have been realized. So.
Got it. Michael, still doing what he's doing. We'll talk about that. Masters of the Universe. Brian, I went from 2 billion to bust. Voltron. No theatrical release. That's been confirmed now. They were discussing about what to do, but guess what? The movie ain't good enough to go on the big screens. That's what it's saying. There's a big opportunity there, and they ruined it. Nolan talks about the choices that he's made for the Odyssey. So let's hear what he has to say about that. Fast and the Furious TV series coming, but how many really? Because some people are saying numbers here like, I don't see that happening. And what we're watching, Man on Fire, Citadel. I've been watching Man on Fire, but let's hear what Brian has to say, because Brian, when he sends me his show notes, he puts stuff in parentheses that that are interesting. So, Mortal Kombat 2. What did you think, Brian? I know you were excited to see this one. This is the movie that you've been wanting to see because you've been picking Mortal Kombat 2 to outdo Street Fighter. It will be interesting to see if you changed your mind.
You know, I enjoyed it. It got me thinking of like, what is the absolute best version of this kind of movie? Because I do think if I say the 2021 version was like 10 to 15% of what a Mortal Kombat movie should have been, I think this movie is like 60 to 70% of what a Mortal Kombat movie should be. Like this is a representative effort of a movie that feels like the game brought to life.
Yeah.
But it still has flaws. It still has challenges. And then it still has these areas of like, I'm not sure what you do with this. And as we get towards Street Fighter, I'll be very interested for the side-by-side comparison of what they tried to do with these questions. But I enjoyed it. Why? For the simple reason that massive upgrade in the lead character position, right? You go from the Cole Young creation of the first movie to Karl Urban as Johnny Cage, who's clearly having fun. Mm-hmm. And is playing the sort of cocky actor and wisecracking, former martial arts champion. He does a very good job. What you would expect Karl Urban to do. If you watch The Boys, you should know this guy knows what he's doing when handed apart like this. So that alone elevates it. The second thing is we get to tournament format within 15 minutes.
Okay.
So like this movie does understand that like, hey, here's what you came to see. So we are going to set up literally like a scoreboard basically between Earthrealm and Outworld, and we're going to have venues that look like the game boards, right down to the opening shot of a number of these fights is the zoomed out with one fighter staring at the other fighter. It's literally what the game would be, and then they zoom in and let them fight. This movie has a very good understanding of special moves and fatalities. There's a very high content of like, if you know your character, if you have a favorite character and it's in the movie, chances are they are going to do their special combos, and if they win their fight, they're going to do their fatality. And if they lose, they're going to lose at the hands of a fatality. So this movie checks all the boxes when it comes to that. The places where I think it falls short are one, anytime it attempts to inject a story beyond the tournament. It still is like this sore thumb that reminds you, that's not what we come to this for. So if the first movie was like 80 to 90% that, which it was, and that's part of why it's awful. Mm-hmm. This one, like the opening scene, for example, still tries to lay some groundwork, and you're kind of just like, I'm just sitting there like with my, my head in my hand being like, okay. Like, those moments still just don't work. And I think it just kind of underscores in these types of films, you really can't have a lot of that. It has to be lean and mean and get to the basic premise of this game, which is saving Earthrealm and saving the 10 realms from Outworld.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second thing, which is the biggest question that I think for both these movies and for these movies in general, is what is the level of martial arts we should actually expect from these characters? Because after all, in the video game, the things you love to do the most were the special moves and the fatalities. Those are not actual karate stunts.
Yeah.
So therefore, what should we expect when you're building toward those moments in terms of choreography, staging, and the skill level of the people involved? Because I think this movie has a pretty wide range of that. I think there are certain actors who show they have some martial arts training and they just are capable of doing a few things more. There are actors who are clearly, like Carl Urban's a great example. He's not a martial artist, right? It's clearly not him when they're doing the wire work, flipping, and all that sort of stuff. And so if you're looking for, this is never going to be Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris in the Coliseum. And I don't know if it's fair to expect it to be that.
Yeah.
I do think I don't know. I guess I still feel like there's a level of skill that's a notch or two above what this movie settles for, but below that I think could make these movies better. And I'm curious to see if Street Fighter is able to get there or whether it winds up in the same place, which is the non-special move martial arts, for the most part, is pretty ordinary and not ultra innovative. It doesn't take away from the special moves because you still get excited when you see them happen. You're like, oh, that's cool. Like I remember doing that in the game and that sort of thing. But it's not. Let's draw another example from guys who are not martial artists. It's not Neo versus Agent Smith before they get to the special moves. And I'm wondering if it needs to be, if it can be that, and if that would actually help. So I kind of left feeling like if you're a fan of the game, I think you'll at least feel like this was the closest you've gotten to seeing that game realized on the big screen. If I'm giving it my rating, it's still like, I was like, what is the highest score you would ever give a movie like this? I don't think there's a 5-star version of this movie, right? So I kind of feel like 3.5 to 4 is like your ceiling. I feel like this one lives in kind of like the 2 to 2.5 range.
Okay.
And it's like, there are definitely individual fights and stuff that if I see them on TV, I'll pause for 3 minutes to rewatch it. But is this a movie that like I'm going to go to the theater 3 times, tell my friends we got to go as a group and 3? Like it's not that good.
Yeah.
So that's where the bar is. My instinct is that Street Fighter is not going to be that far off it. I think Street Fighter is going to be ballpark quality level to what this was, and I think we're going to feel like both games were at least adapted okay. And I think the real question is, what is the maximum potential of something like this?
Who did this one?
So this was done by, the director was Simon McQuoid, who actually did the first one. But they changed, but then the writer is funny. The writer was Jeremy Slater, who's the original creator of Moon Knight. That's like the one, that's where you would know him from.
The reason why I ask is because this new director for the guy that is doing the Street Fighter film is somebody new and has a different pedigree, and it'll be interesting to see the differences and how much flashier it could be in terms of what we see and how these guys move. So
yes. So actually, weirdly, it's gonna maybe sound like I'm trashing this movie. I'm not. The original Mortal Kombat film, way back in 1995, actually did bring in more high-level actual martial artists into support. So Robin Shu, who was Liu Kang, actually was a pretty accomplished martial artist himself. So if you watch what he does, and he did all his own stunts in the movie, he's actually not that bad. Like if you watch his fights only, he's doing a few things where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like he's actually leaping off the wall. There's no slow-mo. And then they had him opposite some guys who were like wushu masters, like multiple time black belts. Like they didn't name them, but like if you knew martial arts and you knew like some of the big names, like they were, like the guy who played Scorpion was like a pretty big deal martial artist. There's a guy that Liu Kang fights in the opening fight who's like a nobody character, but the actor who played him, Hakeem Alston, was actually a pretty highly trained martial artist as well. So there were a few guys in that film who could do things that I think people in this film are simply not capable of. I don't think it made that film any better because the story is so ridiculous and some of the other actor martial artists are so bad. But that movie actually had a little bit more in that category than this one did. So you're right, though. The Street Fighter director, I think, has more of like a game and martial arts pedigree than this film does. There's some good stuff, though. I think like there's a fight between Liu Kang and Kung Lao that I think is actually, that's as close as I think the movie gets to the game. I think the backdrop is the coolest. I think the two of them are the most committed. The use of the hat is actually pretty well done. Like, and then Liu using his fireball powers. And that one actually, to me, I was like, this is actually a good fight. Like, this is actually a good video game adapted fight. I wish every fight was kind of to that level. But some of the other characters, not as much. Like, I have to say, like, I don't want to step on Louis Tan too much. It's not really his fault that the Cole Young character is so flawed and limited. But the overcorrection of the "are bad" with Cole Young is pretty funny. If you watch this film, it's pretty funny because he gets like, he's in the film for like 5 minutes and he does get to fight, but it's pretty funny what happens to where I'm just like, everyone, I hope everyone is laughing, including him, at how this all played out. So.
Interesting. I can already imagine it. But it
doesn't
do well in the box.
So that's the thing. The answer is they'll make money, but I think they're going to make less than if they had stuck to their original plan. So the opening weekend US was $38.5 million. Total global was about 63. Production budget on this supposedly was between 70 and 80. So that's not that high. So they only really need to get to about 200 to feel like they did well. I think they will get to right about 200. But they moved this movie back from last October to this May date, in part because they thought they had it. They thought they had like a bigger event. They thought there was real buzz for this, and they made it a summer film. I said at the time they were making a mistake competitively because if people recall, Michael had already been delayed from last fall because of its production issues. There was really nothing on the calendar that was remotely like this between October, when it was supposed to come out, and Avatar. And they put it in May and wound up inadvertently competing with Michael all over again, and competing with Devil Wears Prada, and competing with the remains of Super Mario Galaxy. And I think it really cost this movie box office. I think they're going to lose. They're going to wind up giving up, in my estimation, at least $100 million globally by the decision to delay it. Because they didn't delay it because they were working on it. They delayed it because they wanted it in summer. And I think that's proven to be a mistake.
Crazy.
Because this thing last fall, I think more people would have been like, hey, I got nothing else. I have no other spectacle movie to go see in October, November. I like the game. I'll go check it out. You get none of those people right now.
They thought they had something bigger as far as IP that would outshine some of these other ones. And it's not like that.
No.
It's not like that.
And there's so much out there. This is a big movie year, and they are up against real monsters right now across the spectrum. I think it was a miscalculation. Warner Brothers has been hot. This was a miscalculation. They missed on this one. Well, I just want to say, can we connect it to Michael, though? Because that's the thing. These two movies were linked originally last October. They both wind up getting delayed. Michael is just unstoppable. Like, this thing crossing 600. Basically, this thing is doing so remember, the opening weekend was 220 globally. This thing has basically done 200 million a week for the first 3 weeks with almost no drop. And now it's so popular that IMAX is bringing Michael back. IMAX is kicking out stuff to bring Michael back to its screens until they have to make way for Mando Grogu and stuff. So you get an extra week of that. And by the way, now Asia's opening. So this 600 million has occurred without Japan, Korea. These are markets that were crazy for Michael Jackson as an artist when he was at his peak. This thing is going north of $1 billion. This thing is definitely going north of $1 billion. Now the question becomes like, how far north of $1 billion can it get?
I'm thinking, I want to see if it beats the Black Panther.
So that'd be 1-3. It obviously will do it slightly differently because now like I said, the international is starting to accelerate away from the domestic. But you were right. I had the US box being about 250. It is going to be closer to like 350. So you were right on that. You thought it would be bigger in the US than I did. The global is now, like I said, it's starting to pick up and become more like 60-65% of the total. So Black Panther, remember, it was 700 US, 600 international. I think it's going to be close. I think this thing is going to be in that 1-2-1. I think I had said 1-2-5. I think it's going to be awfully close to that number. So 1-3 is not out of the question. I wouldn't be shocked if they did a re-release on this at some point. Like they waited and they brought it back like toward Christmas. They just found a time in the year that's kind of slow and they're like, hey, let's re-release this for a couple of weeks, make people feel good about Michael again. I wouldn't be shocked. I think this thing is.
When is the next one coming out?
Well, that's going to be a while. As I said, the Lionsgate thing, he said it's going to be a while. But as I said, we've discussed this movie ad nauseum, but I don't think there's any question at this point that the best thing that could have happened to them was this issue that forced them to make it what it became. Because it's clear that from an audience response perspective, the audience was craving the nostalgia play.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Let's see where it ends up.
Now, you raised an interesting point. I do not think this will be the highest grossing movie of the year, simply because I think Spider-Man is definitely going I think Spider-Man is going to go north of this. I still think Doomsday would get above 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing is defined.
And what Brian is referring to is a voice text that I left Brian about. Yeah.
I forgot you didn't say it on the show. You just said to me. Yeah. Yeah, that you were saying, could this be the highest grossing movie of the year worldwide? And I was like, I think that would still be an upset, but think it's going to be much higher on that list than anyone other than us maybe would have thought. I think that the world where this is the third highest grossing movie of the year is not out of the question. The idea that this could finish above Super Mario Galaxy, finish above the Odyssey, I don't think that's impossible.
Yeah.
That's a testament. I mean, that's just a testament to the mythos of the individual.
It's going to be very interesting what the box office for the Odyssey is going to be, Brian. We'll talk a little bit about that.
We will. But the box office success of these projects must come at the expense of others.
Absolutely, because once you would hear me chanting from the mountaintops about Masters of the Universe being a $2 billion film. Obviously, my excitement took me a little bit overboard. And again, I was saying this before we saw anything. And the reason being, if you've been listening to our show, go back and you can hear the reasoning behind that. Then when we saw the trailer is when the wheels came off. And I realized that my excitement was just a dream. The box office for this is looking crazy. What have they been saying of what these numbers look like, Brian?
Man, this is part of why doing this is so much fun. We know, I think, a lot of the time, because we love these genres and IPs so much, we want to be excited, right? We always love getting excited. And a lot of times we know that movies are the kind of thing that you're going to get let down more often than not. If you're being intellectually honest, there are so few true classics. Most of the time, if you get really amped for something, the actual result is not going to be quite what you hoped. Yeah. But you definitely hope it's better than this. I think there's a broader question forming about Amazon, which we should talk about when we link this to Voltron. But I think it's safe to say we have found the biggest box office disaster of the summer. And unfortunately, I mean, what I want a futures bet on the amount of headlines about He-Man not having the power that we're going to see in a couple weeks. Because the projected U.S. opening weekend for this movie is now down to $25 million, which when you factor in overseas for this is probably not going to be that much better than that. You're looking at an opening weekend of maybe 60 worldwide. This thing cost almost $200 million to make. They need this to make 500 probably worldwide for it to be profitable. This thing probably doesn't see 200. This might see like 150 total.
Wow.
A massive loss, looking very likely. But people do not care. Promotional material has done nothing. There are more Amazon featurettes every day showing stuff from this movie. You can probably piece together the entire film from everything Amazon has put in terms of advertising, characters, and
they've given up.
It's just all out there. It's all out there. You don't even have to bootleg it. It's right there. Like it's over. This is like we found the first major blockbuster project that has officially been squeezed out by the competition, and sadly, it will be He-Man.
Imagine a He-Man that looked like Dune. Imagine that.
Even Predator Badlands, I would have taken. Just in terms of the innovation of the backdrop.
I said it from when Avatar first came out. I said it. This is what Eternia needs to look like. Not necessarily Pandora itself, but that escape and that world of Eternia. He says something like that. I said it from a long time ago. Instead, we get like a surrounding area of the castle, and Castle Grayskull is like 2 blocks away.
That looks very CGI, to be fair. I mean, other than, the film still gets points for costume accuracy. Obviously, they did a great job with that, but nothing else seems to have, I think nothing else seems to have connected. And I think other than look, you're talking to two people who grew up on this, who understand both the silliness of it, but also the nostalgia of it and how much it meant to us when we had the figures and we're watching the show. And if you can't get us to like be really excited to take our kids, this project is dead on arrival. Because I just don't think it's the kind of thing that like a random 22-year-old is going to see this material and be like, I'm so stoked to shell out $20 to go see this.
If it would have been me, I would have done an origin story of He-Man. And wait till the last minute. But that last minute better be crazy. And it would have looked like Dune.
But as we've discussed a lot, right? As you said, it's the look of the world, and it's the look of a character who's really hard to pull off. And if they didn't hit with either of those. They did not hit with either of those.
You could have gotten Alan Rich and pay him $10 million to be He-Man. Or go on a wide search to find your He-Man. And that's tough. That's a tough thing to do. But I don't know.
I mean, we're still gonna see it. We're still gonna talk about it. But like, I'm almost braced for an episode of ridicule at this point more than enjoyment.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned. On another disastrous note,
from the same studio,
Voltron, no theatrical release. These movies are ruining the possibilities.
You got it. So we got to talk about it.
The possibilities were Thundercats. The possibility was Bionic 6. I'm going to keep on throwing that out there. Other possibilities here that you could have attempted to make, even Silverhawks. Who knows?
Oh, from that era? What was it? Mask? There's like a ton of these things. GoBots? There's like all sorts of things from that era you could mess around with if it worked.
But look at what you're doing with Voltron and now He-Man, yo. Now executives are not even going to want to touch these IPs.
This is the real conversation. So the Amazon upfronts are going right now for television. So that's where you're getting confirmation of release dates and all sort of stuff. So we got a confirmation in Amazon's upfront. Voltron is going to be straight to stream. They're claiming they always intended it to be straight for streaming.
Yeah, whatever.
To which I say, whatever. Like,
Yeah, right. If I would have been pitching it, that would have been a different story. I'm no studio exec or nothing like that. But if I would have pitched this is not a pitching it for the streaming platforms. No, sirree.
No, I'm actually go so far as to say, if someone came to me as a studio head and pitched me this as a streaming property, that's an automatic rejection. An automatic be like, this is not an idea that belongs on a small screen. Come back when you have one that's worthy. Like, I don't want to talk about
big screen. Yes,
a TV version of this.
I would say no, thank you. Now I'm going with somebody else who's going to make this bigger. What I need it to be.
Ridiculous. So that probably tells you this is a write-off. Like, it probably will be a modest streaming success, but like, it's probably not even going to be as big of a deal as like Alan Ritchson's War Machine was on Netflix, which that was like the number one movie for like a month streaming there. So now we're here's our board, right? We were being, for us, this is a sad state of affairs, right? We've gone from the excitement of Amazon putting dollars and push behind Voltron finally getting a movie, He-Man finally getting a legitimate movie, and maybe the prospect of Thundercats and other and behind that, to let's look at the state of play. Like, He-Man's a disaster. You're not getting a sequel. Not happening. And the world's not being expanded. Voltron is almost certainly DOA now because they've reinvented the story. They've wasted a good cast. Nobody's going to care. We know that G.I. Joe has never been successful in the hands of Paramount. They're trying to resurrect it, but at this point, what are they, 0 for 4? I mean, there's the Rise of Cobra, Retaliation, the Snake Eyes spinoff, and like this link to the Transformers universe. They haven't given us a good G.I. Joe movie yet. And then there's Transformers, which is like commercially was very successful initially in the hands of Michael Bay, but that's become completely irrelevant to where Rise of the Beasts, which we thought could be decent, was largely forgotten.
Yeah.
All of our childhood IPs are basically in ruins at this point, which leads to, I think, simply studios and executives are going to basically look at, this is the wrong era for projects. It's going to push them even further in the direction of video game adaptations.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where the younger audiences are responding. That's where the potential are. I think there's, the latest updates about Zelda sound pretty exciting. They moved that one up a little bit in the release date. So it's like, I think if anything, it just takes our entire generation of stuff and kind of says like, that's going in the vault. That's the past. That's the dinosaur. And this is the future, unfortunately.
Yeah, because the right people are in the room to really listen. What's the Knight? What's his name?
Travis
Knight.
Travis Knight.
So Travis Knight may have Joel Schumachered He-Man and gave us Goofy instead of something worth seeing.
Well, Amazon too, you got to say, between Voltron and He-Man, that's a 1-2 punch that KO'd the IP. We were excited about Amazon's involvement, but you look at this and you're just like,
because they have the money to do it. I mean, 200.
Each of these got 200 million. Like,
that's crazy, yo. That's crazy, yo. But hey, we got ideas for video game adaptation too. That's okay. Double Dragon, baby. Let's look at Double Impact.
That's happening.
I think that's
going to happen. I think that's going to happen. I'm telling you, I think that's going to happen.
You mentioned Shinobi. I mean, look at there's a lot of freaking
Contra
Nintendo games.
About,
Super Commando. What's it called? Super Commandos?
Well, yeah.
Contra.
Contra. Yeah. Contra. Ninja Gaiden. Yeah. There's so much stuff. Yeah.
But let's see.
But that's what it's going to be.
Oh, Taken. That's going to be next.
There's so much. I mean, that's what it's going to be. Some animated, some live action.
Yeah.
I think ultimately some streaming. As we see, like, I think Netflix is right. Like, we saw Assassin's Creed not work as a movie. I think we 100% agree that really is a great series concept. So, like, getting that right's important. But, and they don't all work, right? Like, Halo didn't really work for Paramount. It's not awful, but again, it's like they messed up the true kind of DNA of the game. So, but then like Fallout was also based on a game. I don't watch that show as much, but I know it's very popular for Amazon. So, like, some of these are working, but sadly, the 80s classics, I think, are going to be buried after this sequence here. And I don't think we're going to see Thundercats. I think that project's probably going to quietly get shuttered.
Say hell no. Yeah. I would too, Brian, at this point, because you're putting me, regardless of how great of a pitch I would give you, it's too risky
Yeah.
to put that kind of money behind something that, I mean, unless you make it, find a way to make it cheap, right? And it be dope.
Yeah, I think also, if you remember too, like when people were hyping Masters of the Universe, they were treating it. One executive literally said, "This is the second leg of this revolution that started with Barbie." Remember, that was actually the template, a movie that made $1.5 billion as like a worldwide phenomenon. It shows you that like those two things were in no way connected, other than the fact that Mattel made both toys back in the day.
Yeah.
And so this don't underestimate how gutting this result for Masters Universe is. And then you layer onto that a Voltron project that seems like it was failed before it even, left the station. Like
I can't wait to review them.
That's the thing, right? We will not be holding back, right? These are things that are important to us. Like you trample on, the greatness of the characters and the toys and the nostalgia.
I want to hear what like the dudes that like are still excited to see this, and if they like it after this, it's going to be interesting to see why they like it. But
I'm telling you, I just have this feeling we're actually going to be more offended by this than we were by the Dolph Lundgren version. That's saying something. I think we're legit going to be like, this is actually the second best adaptation.
Yeah, the bar has been set even lower. You could always sell it like that. You can't get any worse than this.
Yeah, be careful what you say, right? Yeah.
So, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. This one is going to be cut off a little short. We're going to definitely address some of the other topics that we mentioned in our Void episode. So we still got the discussion about the choices that Nolan made for Odyssey. That's going to be very interesting. I want to have that conversation, as well as, a Fast and the Furious TV series. Like, really, we don't need any more. This is make-believe. This is make-believe. But I don't know what sort of a series we're going to get. I don't know, but let's see what happens there. And what we're watching, Man on Fire, we've been watching, but it's the sort of thing we got to talk about that. I still enjoy the performance. His performance.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, there's not enough of it, but we'll get into it a bit deeper. And Citadel, I refuse to watch it. Even though, what's the guy's name?
I watched it only
Richard Madsen.
I watched it because Joe Russo directed most of the series. That's why I watched it.
Okay. So I guess we'll talk about how Joe Russo did. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys, if you saw Mortal Kombat 2, let us know what you guys thought of it. And how many times have you seen Michael? And what's your thoughts on, I guess, this era of movie making with IPs that have ruined the possibilities. Again, they have ruined the possibilities of potential stuff, and now it seems like we won't be able to talk about it anytime soon unless, Brian, we get in there somehow and try to pitch it and try to get it done, because that's what it needs. It needs a special touch. It needs a special type of person to see the vision of what these could be, and not somebody just trying to relive their childhood, I guess, with He-Man, because again, the He-Man cartoons were atrocious. Why make a live action version of atrociousness? You know what I'm saying? You just don't do that. Anyway, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think, and we'll see you next time on the NerdGen Report. And remember, if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first.